Hi guys, it's Janae and welcome back to my channel, and today we are continuing the read along for Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish Volume 2. And I'm sorry I am a little bit late. I misjudged how much work it was going to be putting the settings back to how they were before I did Twitch live stream, so we won't be making that mistake again. But anyway, so I don't want to take too much time to wait for people to come in, but we are gonna just give it like 1 or 2 minutes, sorry. um, and I hope the audio is okay now. I forgot to plug my mic in, which you'd think I wouldn't be making these kinds of mistakes anymore, but apparently it still happens. So while we do that, while we wait, there was something I wanted to tell you guys, and now I have had a complete blank. Oh, for anyone who did want to join the Justice in the Dark rewatch live streams that I did on Twitch, I did episode 1 and 2 on Monday, and they went fine. I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. So they are now available for all free members on Patreon. If you didn't catch the live and still want to check them out, but if you want to join from next week onward or whatever, it's going to be Mondays, same time that we usually do these live streams, but obviously just on Mondays. So, okay, with all that said, hi, I'm Janae. I do download read-alongs, and we are currently doing 3 hours per sitting, and I think I don't want to say almost done, but I feel like we only have about 2 live streams maybe left of this one. Maybe I'm being too naive. We'll see. And I have tea here with me. I'll take a break on each hour, and that is it. I feel like we can get started. Let me just grab a sip of tea and let's get going. Okay, also I hope the audio is okay. Oh, I mentioned that already. My brain is scattered, if you couldn't tell. Okay. Mm. So we were at the top of page 237, I believe, for anyone who wants to follow along. And just again, for the hell of it, here is the beautiful art that we saw in the last stream. Hi! So let's get going. Hello, the Princess of Jinju nodded at both Prince Jing and Li Ye kindly. In terms of status, Prince Jing wasn't below the princess, so he had no need to bow to her. But Li Ye suddenly considered his own status. He quickly pushed his chair back, but Prince Jing suddenly put his hand on Li Ye's shoulder, not letting him stand up. Scandalous. Ye Jingyan laughed and said, Li Gongzi, don't worry. We'll all be family sooner or later. Mm-hmm. The last time Ye Jingyan went to Prince Jing's manor, he'd found out Prince Jing had someone he liked already, Li Gongzi. Prince Jing usually kept Li Gongzi well hidden, so Ye Jingyan had never seen him. He'd wanted to meet him for a long time, so today, when he found out Prince Jing had taken Li Gongzi to the market, Ye Jingyan immediately decided to take the princess along too. That's actually so cute. They're having a double date, and the only person who's not aware of it is Li Ye. The Jingju people were more open, so a couple could feel free to meet up and go on dates even before marriage. Ooh, okay. At first Ye Jingyan was very afraid of getting married, but slowly he'd come to accept the idea. He went to the king of Jinju himself, asking if he and the princess could see each other more to develop the relationship. The king of Jinju had high hopes for Ye Shizi, so of course he'd agreed. On the other hand, The Princess of Jinju initially didn't like this husband that the Emperor had called steady and mature. But after she found out Ye Shizi had a dog, the princess started seeing Ye Qingyan in a new light. I love how she's like, oh, this man has a dog, that is the green light I have been looking for. Or green flag, I guess. But also it's so funny because everything we see of Ye Qingyan is so unserious when it comes to his interactions with Prince Jing. So it's funny to think how he probably puts up a little bit of a front when he's in the court, which obviously makes sense. It's the emperor, you're not gonna be your normal self around him. Um, The princess had many pets growing up, such as cats and bunnies. She thought when she got married, her husband's family wouldn't let her have pets anymore. But to her surprise, her fiance shared the same interests as her. Besides, Yoshizu was someone who stood out among his peers. Now the little princess's feelings for Ye Qingyan were growing by the day. I'm so here for this. Like Ye Qingyan, this was the first time the Jinju princess had met Li Gongzi. At first she was very reserved, not knowing what to say. But the princess still remembered the little carp at the banquet, so when she saw the fish's owner, she was extremely excited. Prince Jing, did you bring the fish this time? She asked, curious. Prince Jing's fish was actually right next to him. Leah and Prince Jing were both thinking the same thing, but Leah was contemplating whether or not he could bring the crystal bottle out and let the princess see it without somehow getting close. While Leah racked his brain, Prince Jing just smiled, giving Wang Shi a lazy glance. Wang Gongong immediately lied for his master without blinking. Unfortunately, Princess, His Highness didn't bring the fish out this time, like he would ever abandon his fish at home. We don't need to mention that the fish is sitting right next to him at the moment. And they got married and lived happily ever after at the end. Yes, that's what we need. Because the Chinese weddings do not go well when they appear on page, so we just need them to get married happily off screen. Okay. The fish who had been left behind sat in his chair and kept glancing uneasily at Prince Jing's hand. The golden chain of the crystal bottle was clearly still wrapped around his hand, but when he ordered Wang Shi to lie, he didn't even blink. Why wouldn't this person let the princess see the fish? Though he guessed not letting her see did help him out. Hee. Leah didn't need to worry about the princess noticing anything. Faced with the gentle rejection, the princess was just like her fiancé, Ye Qingyan. She paid no mind to Prince Jing's coldness and said, smiling, "Can I see it next time?" Clearly, the princess not only wanted to see him, she wanted to pet him as well. This princess's beauty was unmatched, and when she smiled, she looked even more stunning. Unfortunately, Prince Jing wasn't someone who would give in just because they were a girl or a relative. He shook his head decisively. No way. Go pet yourself. Although Prince Jing wouldn't let the princess pet his fish, 2 chopsticks were still added to the barbecue squad. Oh my goodness. Ye Qingyan wanted to bring the princess to join in on the fun, partly because he thought the princess might be homesick, since she'd been away from Jinju for a while. This market and the restaurant was filled with the feeling of Jinju, so he thought the princess would like it. As expected, when the little princess saw a table laden with beef and lamb, her eyes curved into crescent moons, and she happily talked and laughed with him. That is so freaking sweet. Oh my goodness. The princess elegantly ordered her servant to cut off a lamb leg and nodded towards Ye Qingyan. He happily gestured for her to go ahead. The princess immediately rolled up her sleeves and grabbed the leg. With astonishing speed, the princess demolished the lamb leg like a whirlwind. Then she wiped her mouth, put the bone on a plate, and elegantly asked the servant to cut another. I hope those bones are going to, what's the dog's name? But to the dog afterwards. So much sugar right now. Hi, the princess is the real one. Hi. Yes, she is. I already like her and we haven't seen a lot of her, but at least now also it makes sense why she was so quick to side with the fish. Because she is another pet lover and we love that for her. Ye Qingyan looked towards Prince Jing, lips trembling, only to see Prince Jing's Li Gongzi also gnawing on a leg of lamb. He had one hand on a leg and one hand on his chopsticks. There was a smear of sauce at the corner of his lips. Li Gongzi was just about to lick it off when Prince Jing suddenly leaned over, obscuring Ye Qingyan's view. It was a while before Prince Jing sat back down. Li Gongzi's fair face was bright red, but most importantly, the sauce on his lips were gone, and his lips were a lot redder. Guys, what? Just whacked suddenly over the head with it. I was not prepared for that. He licked his lips happily. I'm not okay. Ye Qingyan turned to look at his fiancée, who remained just as elegant. He screamed in his heart, in terms of shamelessness, he'd lost again. Yeah, the most elegant, the most mature person constantly having a shamelessness battle with his cousin. I think it's cousins, right? I can't remember their relation, but anyway. Okay, chapter 61, page 241. Getting revenge for the fish. Oh goodness. Leah had been focused on gnawing on his lamb leg when Prince Jing suddenly stole a kiss. Now he was both embarrassed and annoyed. He felt like the original book was full of lies. Otherwise, how could Chu Yanyu end up being so secretly evil while the Tyrant was actually a huge asshole that liked to take advantage of him whenever he wanted to? Why did he have to kiss him while they were eating? Couldn't a person be allowed to live? Mm-hmm. And it was right in front of Yoshizu and the Princess of Jinju. Leo couldn't calm himself down fast enough to keep up with Prince Jing's bullying. The princess was focused on eating just like he was, so perhaps she didn't see, but Yoshizu's eyes were wide open, looking like he'd been struck by lightning. He definitely saw. Sob, sob, sob. How was he supposed to face anyone after this? What a huge bastard. Leo raised a hand, fiercely wiping his mouth where the bastard prince had kissed him. Sorry, I don't know why I feel more comfortable saying bastard than I do the other one that's been thrown around, so we're just gonna substitute the two. Um, his eyes were round with anger, and sparks seemed to fly from them. He'd already regretted the times he kicked and hit Prince Jing when he got worked up. He had to remain calm. He couldn't act rashly. Besides, to be honest, fighting was no use. Prince Jing was taller and stronger than him. He could easily pick him up like a little chick. Sob. Yeah, I totally don't believe that that's the only reason why this man is giving up. Prince Jing couldn't help but chuckle when he noticed him holding in his explosive reaction. Perhaps Xiaoyu himself hadn't even noticed that it was getting more and more used to being close to him. Neither the Princess of Jinju nor Ye Qingyan knew Li Gongzi very well. In order to ease the mood and lessen the awkwardness, Ye Qingyan tried to smooth things over by asking Liu to introduce himself. Liu's face was still red as he gave his name and age. When Ye Qingyan found out Li Gongzi's name was literally just fish, he finally understood. I don't know if our understanding and his understanding is going to be the same, but I'm curious to see what he thinks he puzzled out. Okay. Prince Jing didn't just like fish, he even found someone whose name was Fish. Not only had Prince Jing won, Ye Qingyan wasn't even competing in the same brackets. He smiled, but privately he wanted to grind his teeth. The Princess of Jinju was delighted to learn that Li Gongzi looked after Prince Jing's fish for him. Ye, Li Gongzi, why don't you bring the fish over next time? She said. She might not have been able to convince Prince Jing, but the clever princess could tell Li Gongzi was easier to ask. Yeah, but he can't bring himself over and show you that's not gonna work. Leah awkwardly chuckled a few times. She wanted him to bring himself to the princess's manor? No, thank you. Someone else's house of gold or silver was nothing compared to Prince Jing's doghouse. Leah didn't want to go anywhere. Because there were 2 additional guests, there wasn't quite enough food on the table. Ye Qingyan quickly ordered a daikon stew beef, while the princess ordered a lamb meatball soup. Soon both dishes were brought upstairs. 2 plates of bright green cilantro and spring onions came along with the dishes. Prince Jing and Ye Qingyan liked neither, while the princess and Li Ye liked cilantro and spring onions respectively. Okay, but I hope they're still keeping an eye on the time. The 2 of them divided up the condiments without discussion. They stared at each other in understanding, exchanging a knowing smile, and their food buddy relationship was decided just like that. I'm so here for this. I am so here for this. He needed a friend in his corner because Prince Jing is very quickly turning into something that is not a friend. So he needs like just a platonic relationship that is not a dog, though we love dogs, but like, you know, a human would be good. So I'm very happy about this. Prince Jing suddenly felt like he couldn't keep a firm grip on the crystal bottle. Okay. The Princess of Jinju was a warm-hearted person. Due to her relationship with Ye Qingyan, she already considered Li Ye part of her family. As they chatted, she found out Li Ye had run into a con artist. Her eyebrows shot up as they twisted together, and she said angrily, "How dare they? How could someone like that come from Jinju?" At her dainty call, 2 guards dressed as servants immediately entered the room. The princess ordered them to knock the merchant down a few pegs. Leah thought there was no need. He thanked the princess for her kindness hurriedly and recounted how he'd already met with the merchants. "That's not good enough," said Ye Qingyan, who also wanted to get revenge for Li Ye. "That scammer tried to pick on you just because you were alone. We should teach him a lesson to prevent him from doing this to others." They kind of have a point, though it's so hard to get people to change their ways when it comes to things like this. Yeah, exactly. The princess smiled and clapped her hands together. "Li Gongzi, my people will take care of it. Don't worry about it." Liu knew he wouldn't be able to convince the 2 so easily, so he turned his gaze to Wang Xi, seeking help. Wang Xi also wanted to teach the scammer a lesson, but Li Gongzi was His Highness's precious beloved, so he couldn't just say no to him. A light bulb went off in Wang Xi's head as he said, "This old servant will listen to the master." Wang Xi's master, Prince Jing, was currently leisurely sipping on a cup of tea. He heard everything Ye Qingyan and the Princess of Jinju had said, but he showed no reaction. Leah was a little surprised. Prince Jing had even intervened when he was wrapping the golden chain a bit too tightly around his hand. Why was he so impassive now? Unless he's already taken care of it, but I feel like the text would have mentioned it by now. Maybe. We'll see. As soon as he thought that, Leo felt embarrassed. Was he under Prince Jing's spell? Did he think it was natural for Prince Jing to want to stand up for him now? Prince Jing was Prince Jing, and he was himself. If Prince Jing wasn't going to step in, he couldn't force him to do so just because Leo felt he was in the right. Prince Jing clearly didn't want to trouble himself with this, and Leo wasn't about to convince Yeshiza and the princess, so all he could do was watch helplessly as they gave their guards the order. Okay, I misunderstood. I think it's basically like Prince Jing's like, yeah, no, I am with you guys teaching this man that tried to con my beloved a lesson, so I'm just not going to do anything about it. Soon after, the guards returned with some news. Their expression was strange. Just now, the merchant had suffered a grave injury and was being taken away. Okay, maybe that theory wasn't that far off, the first one. They'd asked around, and apparently the merchant had been kidnapped by a cloth bag with a could you imagine, by a cloth bag with a cloth bag thrown over his head. He was taken to a dark alleyway and beaten up, left with a swollen face, all of his teeth missing, and a dislocated jaw. Damn, Prince Jing, that's a bit intense. He couldn't speak anymore, so it seemed like he wouldn't be able to scam anyone anymore either. Okay. Very intense indeed. Someone must have taken revenge because he scammed too many people. Ye Qingyan was very satisfied, but the princess was a little confused. After all, it wasn't her people who'd done it. After a bit of thought, the princess said, "Next time you run into a scandal like that, you must tell me right away." Feeling grateful, Leo bowed slightly with his hands clasped. "Thank you, Princess Yeshiza." Prince Jing's gaze never left Leo. When Leo thanked the other two, Prince Jing's face looked like it had been struck by a blast of cold wind. He got up and pulled Leo's clasped hands down. You know, in the first place, otherwise you would have done it where he could have seen it, so you can't go ahead and be jealous now. Ye Qingyan had known Prince Jing since they were little and was more or less used to Prince Jing's temper. He chuckled. "Tianqi, don't be so selfish." Prince Jing gave him a side-eye and turned to leave, still holding Leah's hand. Leah estimated it was about time for him to transform anyway, and he had to allow some time for the trip back. He knew he couldn't stay out much longer, so he reluctantly bade goodbye to the princess and Ye Qingyan. "Li Gongzi, Ye Qingyan and I will soon be married," the princess said, smiling. "When the time comes, you should come drink our marriage wine. May everything go okay with their wedding, please. I like them too much. I'm so scared." Jinju and Ye Qingyan's marriage wine. Leo's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Thinking about the princess's ending in the book, the princess had married the sixth prince, and in the end, the sixth prince's entire family was killed. The princess had been implicated as well, and was exiled to a place that was bitterly cold, never to return to Jinju. At the time, it was because Prince Jing was angry at the sixth prince. Now that Ye Qingyan was fine, and the little princess was about to marry Ye Qingyan, she wouldn't anger Prince Jing and be punished anymore, right? He was really making a difference as a transmigrated fish. For some reason, Prince Jing had never told Liu Qingyan that Liu was the one who'd written the letter. Either way, Liu didn't care. It wasn't like he needed Liu Shizi to be grateful towards him. Seeing two people he had directly and indirectly saved get married was enough for him. Liu couldn't help but feel proud. That's actually so cute. This entire chapter is making me so happy, and that's making me apprehensive because, like, the other shoe is gonna drop soon, isn't it? Leo smiled and nodded seriously. Sure, thanks for the invite. I'll definitely come, if only for 2 hours. Sorry, I said that, he didn't say that. The carriage travelled quickly back to Prince Jing's manor with another bout of shaking and jolting. Leo was no longer the unprepared little fish from earlier. As soon as the carriage began to shake, he decided to hold tightly onto the gaps in the wood of the carriage. This way, he wouldn't knock into the person sitting across from him, no matter how the carriage shook. But when Prince Jing noticed he'd rather grab onto the carriage than touch him, his expression darkened, because of course it did. Put the cup of vinegar down, Prince Jing. He is drinking it the way I am drinking my tea. My goodness. There were some things that needed to be said. Mia gathered his thoughts. Your Highness, can we have a talk? Prince Jing went stiff, his jaw tightening, but before he could refuse, Leo continued. I know that your Highness asked Wang Gonggong to plan this trip to the market. I thanked the princess and Yeshize, but I should thank you too. Thank you for bringing me out to take my mind off things, for always taking care of me, and everything else. Leo looked down, trying to control his emotions. He said as calmly as he could, I've been trying to carefully think about your feelings for me for a long time, but you keep interrupting me. Leo smiled lightly, feeling like he was being silly. You've truly been good to me and made me happy, but you've also made me afraid of losing you. I wasn't like this before. Leo didn't know what had gotten into him lately. He was an open-minded young man, even more sensitive than girls could be. He thought his feelings towards Prince Jing were limited to that of a pet towards its owner. Those feelings weren't romantic. But now that Prince Jing was doting on him in his human form every day, he was starting to have trouble telling the difference. So, although he tried to calmly think things through these last 2 days, he hadn't reached any real conclusion. Should he keep trying to think things through? Would that get him anywhere? That's the question. Mia thought he might just be running away, because the issue between him and Prince Jing wasn't as simple as whether or not he liked him. He was a modern person on the inside. He could understand a man liking another man, and he wasn't against spending time with Prince Jing. Sometimes he even liked it. Sometimes, sir, you crave it every single day. Are we living the same life right now? Are we seeing what you're seeing? I don't think so. He was happy to be bi or even gay. His sexual orientation wasn't the problem. The problem was that Prince Jing was a character in a book while he was a person from the modern era. Prince Jing was a tyrant, and he was a fish. Though it had nothing to do with the sexual orientation, the distance between them was enough to fit 1,000 mountains and rivers. Okay, we gotta take a moment of appreciation for Xiaoyu being one of the few Danmei main characters that isn't sticking his head in the sand too much. I have to caveat too much because I feel like the feelings have been developing for way longer than he is admitting to himself. But I can't remember how he ended up in the book again. Did he fall asleep or did he die? Because I feel like if he died, then you know, the distance that he talks about between him and Prince Jing, because Prince Jing is a fictional character. It doesn't really matter because it's like you're not going back there. But I feel like for some, I'm misremembering. He does actually. He would be able to go back, right? He didn't die like Shen Qingqi did. Spoiler. Um, I can't remember now. Mm. But those mountains and rivers weren't so easy to turn away from. I'm sorry, Your Highness. Leo struggled for a while and decided just to say it. If he kept hiding it, he'd just seem like a bastard. Let's go with that. He wanted to give himself some more time. He hoped time could force him to make a decision and he couldn't make today. You treat me very well. Can you give me a little more time to figure out the relationship between us? I don't know. Prince Jing looked deeply into his eyes. Before Liu could say any more in rejection, he suddenly sprang forward. With a slam, Liu was pushed against the wall of the carriage. The carriage shook once, but Liu didn't feel any pain. Prince Jing's arms were wrapped around him, cushioning his back and taking the impact for him. The man's handsome face was reflected in Liu's pupils, getting closer and closer. Liu swallowed the words he wanted to say, feeling sure he knew what the other person wanted to do. He shut his eyes, helpless. Mm-hmm. Helpless, you say. But after a long time, Prince Jing only held him in his arms, unmoving. When Leo opened his eyes again, he realized Prince Jing was smiling. Okay, that's a much more positive reaction than I was expecting. Leo was furious. This bastard was playing with him, and he thought he was going to kiss him. Leo's face burned. He wanted to get away, but Prince Jing held him even tighter. When he was about to turn his head away, Prince Jing left a gentle, comforting kiss on his forehead. Leo remembered something he'd heard once. A kiss to the forehead represents a love that was pure. Prince Jing likes me. Leo's heart was racing. Not that being like the thing that makes him come undone. But it is very cute. I get it. Okay, I get it. String turned Leo to face him. Once again, he was so close. His inky black eyes seemed to be enchanted. Leo thought he was going to be sucked in, with no chance of escaping. After kissing his forehead, Prince Jing's lips passed over his nose and stopped an inch away from his lips. The two of them held each other in the tiny, cramped carriage. They could hear each other's breathing and even each other's fierce heartbeats. Leo knew what Prince Jing wanted to do. If he wanted to, he could avoid it. But he didn't. In that moment, he realized with a start that he was hoping he would kiss him. When those lips finally landed on his, Leo felt like his heart sighed. When Prince Jing did something so intimate with him, his first reaction wasn't to get out of there. It was just a bit of shyness. If he was annoyed, it was because he was afraid other people would see and say things. He was afraid of a lot of things, and he got angry easily. But he was never truly mad at Prince Jing. In fact, he looked forward to it. What was he supposed to do? It seemed like he really did like him a little bit. When Prince Jing kissed him, it felt like there was a little boat floating around in his heart. That was the feeling of love, right? That made me so happy. Oh my goodness. Okay. Tea before we continue. Let me not drop my book. He fell asleep and woke up in the middle. Okay, cool. And that was a glorious scene. I kind of don't want to move on from it because it was so nice that I feel like it's only downhill from here. Okay. We can do this. We're fine. Chapter 62. Fish likes you too. Okay. That was probably their longest kiss. Leah did regret it halfway through. After all, he'd only just accepted that he liked Prince Jing, but they weren't officially together yet. They couldn't just kiss until the world ended at any tiny spark of hope. You want to bet? But also, I'm trying to think in terms of the setting. Would there be a ambiguous period after the confessions take place? I guess there could still be, especially because Shaya did just say that he wasn't sure. Like, he became sure directly after saying that he's not sure, but he did verbalize that he wasn't sure. So I guess that does kind of make it a little bit more ambiguous again. But every time he wanted to interrupt, the man holding him would smile and keep kissing him. He'd never seen Prince Jing so happy. This was the first time Liu had accepted his kiss and didn't push him away. He couldn't help himself. Prince Jing had his eyes closed, his lashes trembling. It was like they had little hooks, constantly tugging at his heart. With this one kiss, it was like his heart finally opened up. His heart kept beating and beating as sweetness oozed out. He thought he must like Prince Jane. What else could this burning hot feeling be? Leo's heart trembled, and he suddenly accepted it. So he liked Prince Jing after all. It was his own fault for not realizing sooner, for not realizing what was in his heart. His eyes were a little wet. With a shaking hand, he touched Prince Jing's lips. After they stopped kissing, Prince Jing kissed his fingers devoutly, then put his arms around his neck. Before, Prince Jing was holding him. Now they were hugging each other. Prince Jing wrapped his arms lightly around the skinny figure in his arms. Okay, that's not a very well-formed sentence, but I didn't misread it. He hesitated for a moment, but he decided not to touch the string of pearls on the youth's waist for now. The entire world quieted down. All that was left was this tiny space in the carriage, where they could kiss tentatively, clumsily. At some point, the horses had stopped. No matter how they enjoyed the brief moment of warmth, it wasn't enough. All of a sudden, the year let out an alarmed noise. The transformation countdown had exploded in his head. He was out of time. He had to leave now. Just a second ago, Leah had been pouting, unwilling to leave. Now he pushed Prince Jing away, pulling Prince Jing's hand off his string of pearls, and glared angrily at Prince Jing. Look, it's not Prince Jing's fault that you're about to transform, okay? It is so cute. I agree. I'm glad we're all in agreement here. I'm almost out of tea before we even close to the hour. This is not good. Okay. If the crystal bottle was here, where was Xiaoyu going to go? Oh wait, no. But what he said wasn't very threatening at all. I still have things to take care of. I need to leave now. I'll tell you tomorrow. Leo rushed to jump off the carriage. Prince Jing immediately realized that Shaya was about to transform, but Prince Jing took a quick glance at the crystal bottle right next to him. The carp spirit's other form was floating inside quietly. If the crystal bottle was here, where was Shaya going to go? He couldn't let the carp spirit transform outside, confused and disorientated. Prince Jing immediately grabbed Leo. He could see that the fish was very confused. He clearly wasn't ready to come clean yet, but Prince Jing was already very satisfied with Shaya's kiss. He patted Shaya lightly on the shoulder, pointed at himself, and then pointed outside. Then he got off the carriage. How's that gonna work though? Because do you expect the entire guard to just assume that they blinked too long and Shaya vanished off of the carriage as a human? Was waiting outside the carriage, caught Prince Jing's gaze and immediately started explaining for his master in a loud voice. His Highness has urgent business and has to rush back right now. We're leaving the carriage and fish. It's you, Gongzi. Alright, so Prince Jing needed to leave too. That meant he could stay in the carriage. Time was of the essence. Leo didn't have time to keep thinking about it, so he hurriedly made a noise of agreement. Watching Prince Jing disappear into the distance, though, Leo paused, and gathering all the courage that he didn't even know he had, he yelled at Prince Jing, "Your Highness, I wasn't angry just now." Hearing that, Prince Jing's heart stuttered. Then he turned back to smile at him. Leo waved wildly, then put the curtains down. He opened up the crystal bottle, and in the next second, he was already a fish. That really was too dangerous. He almost got caught just now. The way this man is still not sure or even aware. It is so clueless. It's frankly ridiculous at this point. But maybe he'll reflect on it a little bit once the panic subsides. Leo immediately puts his new clothes and plushie into his inventory. With that taken care of, he was about to jump into the crystal bottle when a hairpin rolled by. He couldn't lose the hairpin Prince Jing gave him. It was a gift. Leo couldn't bear to put it away, so he grabbed the hairpin and jumped into the crystal bottle with it in the water. Leo curled around the jade hairpin, running his mouth along it in delight. There was a fish just as cute as him at the end of this hairpin. It's so funny how much ego Xiaoye has about his fish form. Like, he doesn't come off as having the same amount of confidence about his human body, but his fish form, he thinks is the greatest thing to ever exist, and I kind of love it. This. When he first received it, he hadn't had the time to play with it. To be honest, he'd been thinking about it this whole time. Leo only put the hairpin in his inventory after he'd spent a while fooling around with it. Now it was time for him to think about him and Prince Jing. Okay. He never expected he could catch feelings for Prince Jing. Although Leo's reaction time was a little slow, he knew how he felt now. It was as if a stone that was weighing down heavily on his heart had suddenly flipped over. But it turned out that after some conflict came relief and comfort. It turned out all of his unusual behaviors were because he liked Prince Jing too. Leo was giddy with happiness. Realizing this truth was a little sweet. It was so sweet, Leo blew a whole string of bubbles. There was nothing to play with in the crystal bottle, nor was there an ornamental mountain for him to wreck, so all Leo could do was swim in circles in excitement until he nearly broke the bottle. No, I can't think about this. Lee immediately stopped. He liked Prince Jing, but what was he supposed to do now? He'd been so conflicted about why Prince Jing had started to like him, but he'd never even thought about the possibility of returning his feelings. He just assumed there was too much distance between the two of them, and there was no way they could be together. After all, he was a fish and Prince Jing was a human. He was a transmigrator and Prince Jing was a character in a book. I do worry about like how that's gonna work itself out. Mm. Leo still remembered all the reasons he had given himself, but looking at them now, weren't they all just obstacles to his feelings? He'd convinced himself with these reasons before, saying they weren't suitable and there were countless dangers waiting for them. If he really decided to be with Prince Jing, then he was no longer a bystander in this book. He was a participant, part of the book itself. This meant he was now completely part of the world, part of Prince Jing's life. But he was someone from the modern era. There were many things he and Prince Jing differed on. They might quarrel or even fight. Most modern people understood that just because someone put feelings for someone else, it didn't mean they'd last forever. Because of people's hearts, their environment, society, there were so many factors that determined whether a relationship would end in happiness or tragedy. Not everything could be solved just by liking the other person. When modern people fell in love, if things weren't going well, they'd break up quickly. But if he truly entered Prince Jing's life, things would no longer be up to him. In ancient times, the emperor's word was final. His life would be in Prince Jing's hands. They were in love now, but once he was stamped with Prince Jing's seal, there was no way he could just leave if they were no longer good for each other. There was nowhere to run. This is like a weirdly grounded and like valid concern. I was not expecting this from our fish book, but okay. Damn it. He knew and understood all of this. They were all reasons to stop himself. There were millions of reasons standing in his way, and only one that made him want to walk towards Prince Jing. But just the one was enough. They liked each other. Leo remembered that in modern times he'd once heard someone say, "What luck it must take to meet someone you like, who also likes you back." I have also heard that one too many times, and it makes me really sad. He was a youth who just experienced his first love. He really couldn't give up when he'd only just gotten a taste. Bigolze, Bigolze! Leo had been a fish again for a while now. Shi, on Prince Jing's orders, had come to help Leo after waiting about 15 minutes, but obviously Li Gongzi couldn't respond. Shi opened the curtains to the carriage only to find a crystal bottle sitting on the floor. Next to it was a letter. Shi grabbed it and took a look. Did Li Gongzi leave again? Every time Leo transformed, he'd just leave without saying anything. He was afraid it'd start to get suspicious, so this time he'd prepared a letter before they left the manor. Okay, that makes sense, because I was about to be like, I thought he was out of time. When did he have time to write a letter? But I'm glad they kind of addressed that. Contents basically said he had something urgent to take care of and had to leave. Shi was used to it by now. His only concern was giving Li Gongzi's letter to Prince Jing. Shi put away the letter, picked up the crystal bottle, and chuckled to the little carp inside. Master Xiaoyu, I'm the only one left. Let me take you home right now. The carriage started moving once again. Behind it, just a few meters away, was a tall figure riding a horse. It kept following the carriage, quietly protecting the person inside. As soon as Leo was back in the manor, he entered the system. It had been a while since he last entered the More Pet system. The quest menu was still open. As he faced the screen, Leah's emotions were complicated. After all, he was the one who didn't want to do the quest anymore, but he was also the one who was now back looking for the system. System, how long until I can go back to being a human for good? Leah asked. After you complete the revitalizing quest line, the reward will allow the user to return permanently to human form, the system replied. So that was this. To be fair, it didn't say it would return him to modern times. It said it would allow him to become human permanently. But that permanentness could be next to Prince Jing, you know? I'm just saying here, I don't want my ship to crash, so Leah is very aware about his relationship with Prince Jing and the possible complications it may bring to his life, but is so damn clueless about Prince Jing knowing he is a fish. Lol. Yeah. No, our fish is very selectively smart. Let's just put it that way. Leah was glad the system was an emotionless program that couldn't feel awkward. It didn't ignore him back or make fun of him for avoiding it. He had to reluctantly admit that if he didn't have the mole pet system, he might have become the noble consort's 1,000-cop soup long ago. True that. Well, you probably wouldn't have woken up in this story in the first place if you didn't have the system, so... Now that he understood his own feelings, he couldn't help but acknowledge that, despite the fact that the system had made him complete all these tasks, his feelings towards Prince Jing and the way Prince Jing treated him were all real. He couldn't lie to himself anymore. Fine, as long as I can turn back into a human, I'll continue with the mission. Now that he liked Prince Jing, he no longer had any hesitations about completing the quests. Plus, they'd let him go back to being a human, so why wouldn't he do them? Unexpectedly, now that he changed his perspective, terrible news became great news. Then does the user want the reward for the indulging quest? Asked the system. Leah hesitated, then remembered the reward for the indulging quest was one of Prince Jing's secrets, and a fish plush. He'd already gotten the plush. As for Prince Jing's secrets, I'm actually really curious about this because I completely forgot we were also going to be getting one of Prince Jing's secrets. Though I do feel torn about his secret being exposed without his consent, but we'll see. Did he have any secrets that Leah didn't know about? Now that his attitude had changed, he couldn't help but want to know more about the person he liked. Leah cleared his throat. It was a reward. There was no reason not to take it. The system opened a window in front of him, and Leah realized the reward was a multiple-choice question. There were 4 secrets to choose from, set up with a square grid. The squares representing the options weren't filled in using the system's usual color scheme. Instead, a different scene was played in each square. The first was in the palace. It looked unfamiliar to Leah, so he skipped it. The second was a house. This one looked a little familiar. Then the last 2, one was an endless vortex, and the last one was a face. With a jolt, Leah recognized himself. Prince Jing had a secret related to him. Then what could it be? Are we finally gonna have him find out? It's kind of sad that the system had to be like, oh, by the way. Or, I'm not saying the system had to, but could you imagine if that's how he found out? It's because the system had to tell him outright and he couldn't put the pieces together? That'd be kind of funny. Okay, let's see. Recalling the confession Prince Jing had carved into all the walls of the manor, Leo felt like his brain was about to start smoking. He figured the last secret probably wasn't a secret to him anymore. He had to make good use of this chance, so he thought it would be better if he could see a secret that he might already have some context on, and chose number 2. Damn it! Ah, of course he did. Of course he did. To be fair, it is a fish scamming system, so I can understand that Leah would suspect the system of trying to give him a secret that he already knows. But still. Okay. I am gonna take my first break here. We will be back at like 11-ish past to continue with the second hour. Okay, we're back. I hope the audio is still good. And check. I have new tea here with me, and we were on page 256 for anyone who wants to follow along still. Okay, he had to make good use of this chance, so he thought it would be better if he could see a secret that he might already have some context on, and chose number 2. Once he'd confirmed his choice, Leo was suddenly surrounded by smoke. Did he enter an illusion again? Leo looked around and realized that this was different from the time he met the chubby little kid. In that illusion, he could swim around as a fish, and everything seemed incredibly real. But this time, no matter how he struggled, he couldn't move. This was Prince Jing's secret, he realized. He was just a bystander. These really were just memories. The house he'd chosen was right before his eyes. Now he got a good look at it. Leah realized with surprise that this was the second prince's place. No wonder it looked familiar. He soon saw Prince Jing approach, carrying the crystal bottle. This was when Prince Jing had taken him along to scold the second prince. What had happened then that he didn't know about? Ooh! That's interesting because I don't think we as the audience are privy to this either. Huh, I'm curious. Leo watched Prince Jing put the fish plush into the second prince's soup again. Re-watching the scene, he still felt incredibly gratified. He recalled they left quickly after Prince Jing was done with the second prince. Did something happen after that? As he continued to watch, he noticed Prince Jing shift the crystal bottle to his other hand and make a gesture towards Wang Xi. Wang Xi then led a group of people to force the second prince to drink himself into a stupor. Once the second prince was in a daze, Wang Xi pushed him into the pond. The second prince hadn't fallen into the pond by accident. Prince Jing had ordered it. At least it's not like the worst kind of secret. Like, it could have been a lot more grim, I feel. The memory stopped abruptly, and Leo returned to the system. It was a secret because it was something he didn't know. He could understand Prince Jing taking action against the second prince. After all, the second prince and Prince Jing had a lot of personal grudges, and he tried to harm the house of Chang'an. But Shaiye was just a fish. Prince Jing was allowed to handle anyone however he wanted. Why did he specifically take the fish elsewhere first? Was it that Prince Jing didn't want him to see it? But he'd already used the fish plush to teach the second prince a lesson, and the fish was there for that. But wait. Leo suddenly realized that Prince Jing hadn't done anything violent in front of the fish for a very long time. Now that he thought back on it carefully, ages ago, Prince Jing had killed a female assassin in front of him, which had frightened him quite badly. After that, he never seemed to beat or kill anyone again. Perhaps that was the real purpose of the secret. He thought Prince Jing's personality had changed, but the reality was that those things never stopped happening. Prince Jing was a product of these ancient times, and he had his own ways of dealing with things. There were some things he had to do, but just for the fish's peace of mind, he started doing them secretly. I mean, I guess that's kind of like a good-bad situation. I don't know. Leah didn't know if he should be angry or moved. No, wait. Why did it feel like this huge bastard treated Shaiye better than Leah? Oh my word. I was literally just thinking, wouldn't it be so funny if he got jealous of himself at some point, and then I dismissed it because it was like he actually isn't being put in situations where he would feel the need to be jealous of himself, like of his other self. And just after I thought that, we have this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Chapter 63. The fish chooses love. I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm not excited at all about this freaking fish choosing love. This would kind of make a glorious dating sim game. I don't know how. I don't know how it would work. I've never played a dating sim in my life, but I feel like this would be a glorious one. Okay. Now was not the time to dwell on these things. Leo hurriedly forced himself back on track and focused on the next step of the revitalized quest. The next step: be inseparable from the Tyrant. Guys, did you hear that? I'm kind of hoping you didn't. If you did hear it, that was my dad sneezing. Okay, sorry. Um, hint none. Oh, there is no hint. Okay, that makes sense. I thought like it meant there there shouldn't be any distance between you. Um, these titles are everything. Leah had intended to be motivated and seriously tried to tackle the main quest, but now, seeing this next step, come out system, I promise I won't kill you. Leo could interpret indulging as drinking, but how was he supposed to become inseparable from the Tyrant? They hadn't even started dating yet. And also, like, he is next to this man day and night. How on earth could he be any more inseparable from him? Huh. Besides, this main quest was probably going to keep going for a while. If they had to be inseparable now, how were the steps going to progress? Leo's eyes twitched. He had a bad feeling about where this was going. This inseparable quest. Let's wait a while. Leo exited the system like his tail was on fire. Did you double check that there isn't a time limit? Because that has bit you in the tail a little bit too often. I almost said Finn. I probably should have said Finn actually. While he was in the system, his fish body would temporarily lose consciousness. By the time the year came to, he was facing an enlarged, handsome face. Prince Jing, who'd had to take care of urgent business, had already returned. He was holding the box, about to feed the fish. He hadn't felt it when they were kissing in the carriage, but Leo felt a little embarrassed, suddenly seeing the object of his affections. In his embarrassment, his brain and fins both shut down, and he sank to the bottom. Prince Jing hurried to steady the fish. Leo stared at him in a daze. His heart felt like a pool of spring water, with waves of affection rippling in the wind. No wonder he always thought this person was good looking. It was because he liked him. He's finally getting it. He is finally getting it. I'm so proud of him. That was what the feeling was. Leo suddenly leapt up like he was startled. He swam a few anxious laps, then dove headfirst into the ornamental mountain, leaving only his tail visible. This all happened much faster than when he got mad or ran away. It was a good thing the fish was covered in scales, otherwise his entire body would have visibly blushed. Prince Jing was a little worried that the fish was hiding in the mountain again. He was afraid the fish might be stuck or perhaps mad at him. He tried to flick the fish's tail. It flipped dramatically, then disappeared into the cave as well. The lesson Prince Jing had learned from the last few days was that he had to coax the fish slowly. He couldn't rush it. He smiled, thinking back to the kiss in the carriage. Although Xiaoye hadn't been able to finish what he wanted to say, Prince Jing was still in an unexpectedly good mood. Liu hid in the mountain, occasionally listening to the noises outside and thinking about his future. Before he was aware of his feelings, he'd felt conflicted and indecisive. But now that he knew his heart, like anyone experiencing their first love, he was a soldier striding bravely forward, he says while hiding in a fake mountain. No matter how treacherous the path was ahead, it was all insignificant to him now. He'd only found out how deeply his feelings ran when he realized he liked Prince Jane. This day was just like any other day, but now that he knew, merely seeing Prince Jane overwhelmed Leo with emotion. He liked him so much, he had to keep pursuing this relationship, even if this path was hard. If he didn't at least try to walk it, how could he think about the future? But he couldn't date Prince Jane as a fish. Currently, he only had 2 hours a day to be a human. That wasn't even enough time to be flustered and embarrassed. You managed it well enough, I have to say. Hmm. He had to permanently turn into a human as soon as possible. Before that, he shouldn't get too close to Prince Jane. And yet the next task is to be inseparable. So how do you want to pan that out? He should try to maintain some distance, even if he liked Prince Jane. He couldn't let the prince find out about his secret. Oh, he could set up some rules with Prince Jane. From what he'd seen over the last few days, Prince Jane likely wouldn't deny him. They could hold hands, go out on dates, kiss. They'd already kissed plenty of times, so that should be fine. Then, what about bedroom activities? Leo had secretly read porn before, and there was a slight itch in his heart. He was a typical young man, and of course this was something he was anticipating. To be honest, he was no longer against the idea of Prince Jane getting close to him. It had all just been a misunderstanding before, since he hadn't been able to recognize his own feelings in time. Now he wasn't just not against such acts, he was privately looking forward to it a little. You don't say. They were both adults, and things should naturally progress as their relationship developed. Leo's face was red as he imagined himself suddenly turning into a fish during a certain rigorous activity. Oh no. Oh my word. Um, Such a scene would most certainly be so beautiful one couldn't bear to look at it. If that happened, both him and Prince Jing might gush blood. In order to prevent such accidents from happening, Mia temporarily put an X over bedroom activities. Men should really do their best to keep it in their pants, he thought regretfully. Once he finished the main quest, he wouldn't have any more reservations. Leo was thrilled and filled with anticipation. He was using a small rock inside the mountain as his pillow, and he kept rolling around on top of it. By the time he barely managed to fall asleep, the rock had almost become smooth. When he woke up, Prince Jing was gone. As it turned out, bright and early that morning, Prince Jing had received the Emperor's request for him in the palace. He had something important to discuss. Damn it! And you didn't go with? I hit my bookshelf. Sorry. Um. Where was I? When Prince Jing returned last night, the fish was embarrassed and stayed in his cave. When Prince Jing received the Emperor's edict, the fish was still snoring away and didn't notice anything. Prince Jing touched the fish's tail where it was poking outside the mountain and thoughtfully entered the palace by himself. He didn't want to wake the fish. This might not be good. Leo was sensible. He knew that seeing the Emperor was important, but the original plot was now in shambles, and he had no idea where they were currently at. The third and sixth prince had both been punished, and were now trying to keep a low profile. Perhaps the Emperor just happened to be feeling sentimental and wanted to catch up with Prince Jing. But it was also possible there was an update on the investigation of the nursery rhyme and fake monks, and the Emperor wanted to make things up to Prince Jing. Leah didn't think this trip to the palace meant any bad news, so he gradually calmed down. Calculating when Prince Jing would be back, he transformed into a human. Putting the plush into the tank, he picked up a set of silver robes that he liked very much and adjusted the collar. I'm hoping he'll have the sense to kind of lightly prod at Prince Jing about the situation once the prince is back. He still had the jade hairpin Prince Jing had given him, but in order to use the hairpin, one first had to put their hair up. Leah didn't know how, and Wang Gonggong had gone to the palace with Prince Jing. He was too embarrassed to ask anyone else, so he had to just do his best. He found a silver hair ribbon, pulled his hair up into a ponytail, then stuck the hairpin into it, leaving the little fish at the end sticking out. Leo nodded at himself in the bronze mirror. He thought he looked quite beautiful. I take back what I said about him not having much confidence about his human form. But I love how excited he is about the hairpin. Prince Jing hadn't returned yet, so Leah sat at the table, smoothed out a sheet of paper, grabbed a brush, and wrote everything he thought of last night down while he waited for him. Just as Leah thought, the Emperor's imperial guards had found out that the third prince was the one who first spread the nursery rhyme implicating Prince Jing. They even found multiple witnesses and brought them before the Emperor so he could question them personally. The Emperor had once again been driven into a fit of anger thanks to the third prince. It was then that the director of the Imperial Astrological Bureau, Sun Samao, just so happened to report that an investigation had revealed that officials of the Bureau had been bribed. And the person who had bribed them was the third prince, Mu Tianming. The Emperor finally understood why the third prince had kept questioning the Imperial Astrological Bureau out of the blue. He was creating an opportunity for the people he'd bribed. The third prince had tried to frame Prince Jing with the nursery rhymes and the impostor monks, and he even had his own people in the Imperial Astrological Bureau. He'd broken all of the Emperor's taboos in one go. The Emperor was planning on punishing the third prince again when he found the opportunity, but the third prince beat him to it by doing something else stupid. Do we know about that something yet, or are we about to find out? These days, the third prince's injuries were improving, so he'd started reporting daily to the imperial study room under the supervision of the servants to study with the young princes. The third prince was very unhappy about this. It sounded nice when the emperor told him to go study, but he wasn't a child anymore. In the royal family, adult princes were supposed to share the emperor's burden and help him solve issues, but he was stuck studying with his little brothers. If the emperor never said anything, when was this supposed to end? Didn't that mean he'd never be involved in court? When the second prince was first punished, he had been put on house arrest. He was kept on house arrest until he was no longer able to think clearly, but the emperor never let him out again. And after that, there was no need to mention the second prince anymore. Little too late, the third prince found himself both afraid and full of regret. He asked the sixth prince for help, but the sixth prince, who'd suffered the same beating he had and was trying to recover, asked him to settle down and try and keep laying low. But the third prince was unwilling to continue wasting time like this. His mother, Consort Zhang, was in regular contact with the wives of several officials. Mu Tianming used this connection to ask these officials to beg for his leniency in court, asking the emperor to give him back some responsibilities. He wasn't hoping for anything glamorous. He just wanted to appear in front of the emperor so the emperor didn't forget he existed. Sadly, it's kind of a legit concern, it seems. After some discussion, the officials wrote a document to the emperor saying the third prince regretted his mistake and was willing to help the emperor. They even asked an academic at the Hanlin Academy, who was very good at writing, to write it, so that he could describe the third prince's recent situation as pitifully as possible, and hopefully take advantage of the emperor's fatherly affection to move him to tears. Okay, that's a bit overly optimistic in my opinion, considering what we've seen of the Emperor. The Emperor received the document. It wasn't clear whether he felt touched, but he was furious that several officials would write for the third prince together. He just discovered the third prince had bribed the Imperial Astrological Bureau, and now several courtiers were begging for his forgiveness on his behalf. The emperor was especially wary of the princes getting too close to the officials. Was the third prince trying to put pressure on the emperor even though he wasn't even anywhere close to the position of the crown prince? That was a mouthful. Yeah, that wasn't the best move on the third prince's part, and I think that was really clever of the sixth prince because we've kind of established with the sixth prince and the third prince's dynamic that if the sixth prince is not involved, he can kind of like leave the third prince to just self-destruct because he's not the wisest when it comes to political intrigue. Mm. All he did was order the third prince to study for a few days to teach him some patience. The third prince couldn't even understand that. How could he trust his son to self-reflect? The emperor made a note of all the officials involved. The third prince never received the emperor's forgiveness, and now not only did the emperor order him to study with the seventh and eighth princes, he also had him copy the classic of filial piety every day before handing it to the Grand Secretary for review. Damn. The third prince was thoroughly humiliated, and all the officials involved were either fired or moved to other positions. It took the third prince a long time to realize what he'd done. When he went to look for the sixth prince again, the sixth prince no longer had any words of advice. It is easy to lose something but hard to get it back. I told you to lay low, but you wouldn't listen. You just had to go dig the hole deeper for yourself. After he dealt with the third prince, the emperor considered his sons. None of his adult sons were focused on the right things, and his two younger sons were still too young to tell how they'd fare in the future. I mean, in comparison, the fact that Prince Jing is obsessed with a fish is very mild. Although the guards had already proved that the sixth prince was working for the third prince, and the emperor was currently disgusted with the third prince, the sixth prince might still turn out alright with a bit of warning, but he just couldn't get over his anger enough to fully commit to training the sixth prince for the throne. As a result, the emperor couldn't help but think of his other son, Prince Jing. Thinking of Prince Jing's calligraphy as well as his skills in playing Go, he knew Prince Jing was very capable. But he was born mute, and in order to protect him, the emperor had never heavily depended on him. But what had all his painstaking efforts truly accomplished? The second and third princes were short-sighted, taking action against Prince Jing and the people around him. They probably thought Prince Jing was an easy target since the Emperor didn't seem to value him. Since they didn't care about respecting him, the Emperor also didn't want to consider their feelings. If Prince Jing wanted to stand strong before the new Emperor, he didn't necessarily need the new Emperor's pity. He could stand tall on his own. Either way, the Emperor didn't have to pick a crown prince anytime soon. After all, the third prince's dirty antics, he needed to reassure Prince Jing. Once he'd summoned Prince Jing to the palace, the Emperor said quite a lot to him, letting out a sigh after sigh. In the end, he ordered Prince Jing to assume a position in the Ministry of Works. Prince Jing just wanted to go home, but instead, he was smacked by a job falling into his lap. Oh my goodness. The Emperor continued. Many things have happened in the court recently, and everything requires my attention. Tianqi, why didn't you help me? I remember Tian Zhao and Tian Ming and the others started attending court at 20 years old. It's already a little late for you. Just a quick footnote, the Ministry of Works was in charge of things like units of measurement, government construction projects, and natural resources. Why do I know that? I've probably seen it in another Danmei. Some land plan level discipline going on, definitely. It was just boring, busy work. Prince Jing nodded, expression blank. The Emperor got the impression Prince Jing wasn't very happy about this. Could there really be a prince who was unhappy with being given responsibilities? Because he has a fish he wants to entertain during the day. But Prince Jing was just like that. He always remained unmoved in the face of humiliation or reward. If Prince Jing was anything like the second or third prince, he might as well be facing a crisis soon. It was a good thing he had a capable son. It was just, no matter how capable he was, it wasn't enough to outweigh the biggest issue. He remembered how, not long after Prince Jing was born, the imperial physicians had already deemed him mute, unable to speak for the rest of his life. At that point, the physician had told the emperor something sincerely. It was likely this muteness would be passed on to his children. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's okay, because he's dating a fish. No matter how capable Prince Jing was, he couldn't carry on the heavy burden of the throne. The emperor couldn't select Prince Jing and doom the royal family. He thought about how, after his ascension to the throne, he'd always placed an emphasis on a D son. He kept hoping a D son would be born, but if the princes that Empress Xiaohui had given birth to, but of the princes the Empress Xiaohui had given birth to, all three had faced disasters and bad luck. Perhaps it just wasn't part of his fate. The emperor sighed. Prince Jing accepted his new job, bade the emperor farewell, and returned to his manor. The emperor had probably given him this job to try and make up for doubting him. Though Prince Jing knew this, he wasn't particularly pleased. But when he pushed open the door and saw Xiao Yue, who had a weird lump of hair on his head, Prince Jing couldn't help but smile. And he's so proud of that weird lump of hair, so you better not comment on it. Your Highness, look, Liu pointed to the hairpin in his hair. Prince Jing saw. The hairpin was a symbol of his feelings. Now that Xiao Yue was wearing it, did this mean he accepted his feelings? Prince Jing stood there, his emotions running wild. Your Highness, there's more. Liu sat down on the edge of the bed and waved him over. Thinking back to the time inside the carriage yesterday, the overwhelming tenderness Prince Jing went a little red. Liu was calling to him from the bed. It was the middle of the day right now. Was he about to absorb essence? Princeton, get your mind out of the gutter just a little bit, okay? I understand why you would make the connections, and I agree that the bed is not the best place that Shaya could have picked for this conversation, but still. Okay. As long as Shaya wanted it, anything was possible. Prince Jing sat down. Leah was blushing too. Before Prince Jing could grab his hand, Leah pulled out a piece of paper from his sleeve and said, smiling, "Let's lay down some rules, Your Highness." I feel like he could have worded that better. Because it kind of sounds like he's like, I I will go out with you, but instead of like, okay, now that we're on the same page, let's just like make sure we stay there. Oh my goodness. Okay. We are on chapter 64, but I'm kind of wondering, there's still 15 minutes left, so even though I don't think we're going to be able to finish another chapter before the hour's up, I'd rather keep going and still do the break closer to the actual hour. So, chapter 64, page 269. Fish boyfriend. I thought about it, Leah said in a small voice, his face red. I like your highness too. I want to be with you. But can you agree to a few things? If you can, then we can try to be together. Although he had times when he was lost or difficult to deal with, or shy when he liked someone, being forthcoming was one of his virtues, and, well, the transformation was forcing his hand. He only had 2 hours a day, so he couldn't afford to hesitate. If he wanted something, he had to mention it now. Once they'd come to an agreement, they could start dating. It's cute. Leah thought of the way Prince Jing took care of him and felt unusually confident. He held the page of writing up high so Prince Jing wouldn't miss a single word. He had edited this agreement many times. Prince Jing taught him how to write before, so this time Leah tried not to make any mistakes and keep the paper clean. Even though he was using this to negotiate, he still wrote it very carefully and sincerely. Meanwhile, hearing that Leah liked him back, Prince Jing's heart was blooming furiously. Oh my goodness, like, Leah's already on to trying to negotiate things, and Prince Jing's still stuck about the revelation that the feelings are mutual. And I mean, I feel him. But it's funny how disconnected they are at the moment. Although what Shaya wanted wasn't exactly what he wanted, that didn't matter. Never mind a few things. He'd agreed to dozens, or even hundreds of things. Prince Jing reached out and grabbed Leah's hand. He carefully rubbed away the ink Leah had accidentally gotten on his fingers. The small gesture made Leah's heart warm. He tickled Prince Jing's palm with the fingers Prince Jing had just rubbed clean. Gathering his courage, Leah held Prince Jing's hand and looked up at him smiling. Prince Jing was trying to confirm over and over that Xia Yu wouldn't run away again in a fit of anger. He'd felt it in the carriage, but now that they'd said everything out loud, he still felt like this didn't seem quite real. That's so cute. Was he also afraid of losing him? Prince Jing burst into quiet laughter, patting Leah's hand and accepting the paper. The first line that he saw was, "Do not ask Leah to stay the night." He rubbed his forehead. Leah accepted him, but still wouldn't absorb his essence. He was fine, but would it have any impact on Xiaoyu? All the ancient cultivation books spoke of being diligent, but Xiaoyu really only worked 3 out of 5 days. Oh my goodness. Leah just rising up a marriage contract already, lol. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Leah was afraid of Prince Jing thinking he was putting up a front and hurried to explain, "It's not that we can't, we just have to wait for an appropriate time." He suddenly realized what was coming out of his mouth and immediately shut up. He blinked, his face red, trying to play dumb. Even so, Prince Jing immediately understood it wasn't completely impossible. "Either way, I said no, so no," said Leah hastily. "If your highness doesn't agree, then let's not be together." When he heard Leah say "let's," his heart swayed. He quickly snatched the paper back. It was too bad Leah couldn't absorb his lessons, but he had Shaya, and that was enough. Leah made a triumphant gesture when he wasn't looking. Everyone said whining to your boyfriend was very effective. Clearly, it was a pretty good trick. Prince Jing agreed to the first condition. Continuing on to the second one, do not ask Leah where he's going. This one Prince Jing immediately understood. Shahir only seemed to be able to maintain his human form for about 2 hours. Every time he had to explain why he disappeared. Watching him fumble for all sorts of excuses, each one faker than the last, Prince Jing struggled not to expose him. Like, I love this fish, but he is really bad at lying. um, Shahir was probably also tired of thinking up all of those excuses as well, so he didn't want to ask. So he didn't want him to ask. It took too many brain cells, and keeping track of the lies wasn't easy. Prince Jing nodded, agreeing to this one too. Finally, the last condition: do not get mad at Leah. That's a little bit of an, I don't want to say mean one, but like, you should be allowed to feel your emotions and not have it be a rule that the emotion is not allowed to be felt. Um, I get why he's taking the the risk and like wanting it on the list, but still. Mm. Jing chuckled. Shaya was too worried. When had he ever gone mad at Shaya? Prince Jing agreed to all of them. "One more," Leah said shyly. "Your Highness said you didn't have any concubines before. Can you please maintain that?" In the book, Prince Jing wasn't someone who would like multiple people at once, but the original plotline was already a mess, and Chu Yin turned out to be secretly quite sinister. What if Prince Jing turned out to be unfaithful? Although it wasn't likely, Liu didn't want any accidents to happen, so he steeled himself. If Prince Jing turned into a pig, then he'd break up with him. I mean, I think that is a good one to clarify because you can't just assume it considering the historical setting and everything like that. Um, but yeah. He hadn't written this condition down because Prince Jing had already said it himself and even engraved it onto the walls of the manor. Leah thought it was unnecessary to write it again and take up space in his agreement. So really, he'd taken advantage of Prince Jing just a little bit. But Prince Jing nodded without any hesitation. "Then, Your Highness, you have to remember them," Leah said, giggling. "Can you memorize them?" Prince Jing nodded again. He handed the paper back to Leah, went to the desk and got out paper and a brush. Leah followed him over, rolled up his sleeves and prepared to grind some ink for him. Why has this become like their hobby? It's kind of cute. Prince Jing glanced up at Leah. Considering Shaya's comprehension skills, He smiled and wrote down a silly little poem. Your decisions to stay the night leave your decision to stay the night. Leave whenever you delight. With you I will never fight. I'll love you. I'll love only you in this life. So cute. That is so cute. That made me so happy. Like, out of everything, white dance. That is so cute. Okay. Leo froze and immediately threw the ink stick to the side. His Highness was amazing, especially that last line. Now that he'd committed them all to memory, the next step was to kiss, hug, and shower him with affection, right? This man got one poem and he was like, I am committed. We are ready to just jump in feet first. Leah threw himself at Prince Jane. Prince Jane was surprised but still managed to catch Leah. With eyes full of tenderness, their lips slowly met. They wanted to put all of their they wanted to put all of their gentleness, but also all of their passion into that one kiss, and melt into each other until they were one. Prince Jing felt something lick the seam of his lips, and when he opened his eyes, Shia was smiling mischievously at him. Does it still hurt? Leah touched his lips. Because of a misunderstanding, Leah had recently bit Prince Jing's tongue. He wanted to make it up to him now. I forgot about that. Oh Lord. To be honest, doing that felt very exciting. The curious fish wanted to try. It was his boyfriend anyway, so kissing with tongue was very normal. Oh my goodness. I mean, if someone wrote a poem for me, I'd be theirs too. Fair, fair. Answered, Prince picked me up excitedly. Holy crap! I just wanted to French kiss. Who? What do you? What do you want to do? Leo's heart was thumping in his chest, afraid Prince Jing was about to break the rules they'd only just set. But instead, after holding him tightly for a while, Prince Jing put him down gently on the desk, then leaned in and kissed him carefully. I'm okay. I'm okay. Leo kissed him back enthusiastically. As he kissed him, he realized Prince Jing was much taller than him. Usually, when he kissed Prince Jing, he had to tilt his head up, which was slightly uncomfortable. Now that he was on the desk, they were eye to eye. As a result, kissing was also a lot easier. Prince Jing wanted him to relax. Leo suddenly realized that although Prince Jing couldn't speak, and he constantly had to guess what his intentions were, sometimes even guessing wrong, the way Prince Jing doted on him never changed. Leo felt both moved and warm. He held on to Prince Jing's neck tightly, happily pressing his lips to the other man's. Very quickly, he was defeated by the warmth. As Leo latched onto Prince Jing like a koala, Prince Jing handed him something wrapped in bright orange cloth. Oh? Leo opened it and took a glance. It was the Emperor's orders for Prince Jing to go to the Ministry of Works for a job. Prince Jing, let's just have a quick chat. You're generally quite a romantic man in a sense. But, well, I mean, if you compare Prince Jing to Leo. Why do you think that while you guys were kissing was the good time to tell him, like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna be busy with work for like the next foreseeable future? Like, maybe just have some breathing room between the two events. Oh goodness. Leah was a little shocked. This didn't happen in the original book. Later, when Prince Jing and the Sixth Prince were fighting, he was supposed to enter the court through the Ministry of Works, but right now, the Sixth Prince was still recovering from his injuries. As far as he could tell, Prince Jing didn't seem to have any intentions of going to the throne yet. Leah realized this might just be the Emperor having great expectations from Prince Jing. Do we think that this means the timeline is speeding up? I'm worried. The Prince Jing of this world would not face too many disasters. He tried to help him. This is a good thing. Congratulations, Your Highness, Leah said, smiling. He had no idea why Prince Jing was showing him the edict. Prince Jing was actually unhappy that he'd only just started a relationship with Sha Ye and was now conscripted to go work. I can't spend a lot of time with you anymore, he thought, but he was unable to say it. Leah thought it over and realized what he meant. He smiled. Since Your Highness has a job now, you should do your best. I won't go anywhere. I'll wait for you here in the manor. When you get your monthly salary, you can buy me a present. I mean, that's one way to motivate him. Like, you can buy me a present when you get your salary. Won't that be nice? And the best thing is, it is going to motivate Prince Jing. From what I know of Prince Jing, that is going to be motivation for him. Leo was full of words of encouragement, imagining himself as a stay-at-home boyfriend, walking his boyfriend to work every day and cheering him on. After all, Prince Jing had a lot of serious business to attend to on top of being in a relationship. Prince Jing had to go to work at the Ministry of Works now. Later on, when he was ascended to the throne, he'd have to worry about all sorts of important national matters. Unlike him, apart from continuing quests, all he had to do was swim around in leisure as a pet fish. It was like he'd entered retirement early, but he was only 18. Leo rubbed his nose. Maybe he should do his best and try and make his boyfriend a heart bento. Oh my goodness, could you imagine the heart attack Prince Jing would have if Sha Ye gave him a heart bento? Like, I think it would be a good heart attack. Not that those exist, but a heart attack nonetheless. With Sha Ye's encouragement, Prince Jing gathered himself and started to report to the Ministry of Works on time every morning. The Ministry of Works was the least important ministry out of the six, responsible for water and conservation and civil engineering. The least important. Oh yeah, we just deal with the only thing that all humans need to live, besides food. But we're the least important. Okay, sure, yeah. Taking into account the fact that Prince Jing would have a hard time communicating, the Emperor gave him the job of repairing Zhongqie Palace after it had been damaged in the fire. The blueprint for Dongqie Palace was in storage. He just had to fix it according to the plans. It would be difficult to mess up. Prince Jing was a prince, and he would be able to command authority with his personality. But the Emperor still found him someone to help him with the task, afraid that he would be overwhelmed with his first job. Deputy Minister Zhang Jing was very capable. He had already received the Emperor's orders ahead of time and was ready to assist Prince Jing at any time. By doing this, the Emperor was making it easy for Prince Jing. After Prince Jing arrived at the Ministry of Works, the first thing he did was put down a huge pack he was carrying. Deputy Minister Zhang Jing was very... Deputy Minister Zhang Jing came to bow at him with a smile. He'd heard a lot about Prince Jing and wanted to have a good relationship with him. Your Highness, he asked curiously, what did you bring? Wang Shi usually followed Prince Jing, but he wasn't supposed to be in places of business, so Prince Jing picked up a brush on the table and wrote, lunch. What, for the cavalry? If it's a pack? Oh my goodness. Jiang Jing laughed awkwardly. So it was the prince's lunch? This pack was larger than a basin. What kind of lunch did it hold? But seeing Prince Jing's impassive expression, Jiang Jing could tell his personality was a little aloof and cold, so he probably didn't want him to pry anymore. And so, despite all his questions, he didn't ask anything more. After Prince Jing finished writing the word lunch, he paused, but Jiang Jing didn't ask any further. Prince Jing was a little dissatisfied, so he carefully wrote in slightly larger words under lunch, my boyfriend made it. I'm assuming that's a translation mistake and that he used a fancier version of the term. But we get the gist. This feels a little bit like the fact that Prince Jing is so dissatisfied about not being able to boast that Xiaoye made him lunch. It feels a little like this is Xiaoye's dream and not what actually happened. Even though I fully believe that Prince Jing would do something like this. Prince Jing's timing leaves a bit to be desired. Just a little, yeah. Difficulty, Jiang Jing asked, boyfriend? Prince Jing nodded. Xiaoye had specially taught him this word from his home. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Xiaoye said when two people liked each other the way they did, it was called dating. Xiaoye was his boyfriend, and he was also Xiaoye's. Prince Jing liked this form of address. He guessed that the carp spirit must be from some sort of immortal mountain, and this must mean he now saw him as family. That's actually quite cute. Prince Jing felt very happy. Jiang Jing thought about it for a while, but still didn't know what a boyfriend was supposed to be, so he could only ask Prince Jing, Your Highness, what does boyfriend mean? Prince Jing narrowed his eyes. There was no way he'd let Jiang Jing know about the Carp Spirit's mountain, but he had an alternate explanation. It was still Xiaoye either way. Prince Jing wrote, my future consort. Jiang Jing's expression kept changing. Prince Jing already had a consort? How come he didn't know? Future consort. Well, that was easier to understand than boyfriend. How should he respond? Well, congratulations, Your Highness, he stammered. Prince Jing finally nodded, satisfied. Jiang Jing secretly wiped away sweat. Then he saw Prince Jing take something else out of his large sleeve and set it down on the table. It was a clear bottle, and inside was a silver fish with flecks of gold. It was swimming around in the bottle happily. This man brought his boyfriend to work with him. Okay. Jiang Jing thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Swallowing, he asked hesitantly, Your Highness, did you bring a koi with you? Prince Jing wrote proudly, my pet fish. What? Why would anyone bring a fish to work? that oddball emperor to be that brings his fish to work with him. Zheng Jing couldn't understand. Once he'd seen Prince Jing personally feeding the fish pieces of peach blossom pastry from a white jade box. Zheng Jing shut up completely. Leo, who was currently munching on a pastry, yelled in his head, "I really fell for this bastard's tricks. Walking my boyfriend to work, why did the jerk have to bring his fish to work too? What happened to being a stay-at-home boyfriend?" Oh my goodness. Now, in his human form, he had to date Prince Jing and prepare lunch for him, and in his fish form, he had to go to work with him. Sob, sob, sob. He wants to start his early retirement where he was always being taken care of. I mean, this I feel could be counted as being inseparable. Maybe. I mean, depending on how you look at it, if you squint. So, yeah, it's great. He might accomplish his task yet. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick 10-minute break and then we will be back for the final stretch. So it should be around like 17 past, 18 past ish. Okay, we're back. I hope all is still okay. Let's see here. So, I was thinking during the break that I want to see where we leave off at the end of this live stream, and then based on that, I'm gonna maybe end up spreading the last bit over 2 sessions that are 2 hours each, depending. Because usually, if it's 2 hours each, I get about 40 pages per session, and which would bring us up to 80 pages. And there's currently where we're at is about 119 pages left. So I just feel like if we do, we're definitely gonna have to do more than one more session, and if we do end up doing 3 hours for the next session, we'll probably have like maybe 20 pages left. Did I say 40 chapters? I meant 40 pages. But we'll have about 20 pages left, I think, if we do a 3-hour session next week. So that'd mean we would only be doing about an hour. So let me know which one you prefer, but yeah, I'm trying to think how to make this work the best. Okay, we were on page 279, chapter 65. This sounds weirdly inappropriate. Touching fish while on the clock. Okay. There was no rush on fixing Zhongtui, I think it's Zhongtui Palace. Prince Jing first followed Jing around and familiarized himself with the rules and regulations of the Ministry of Works. He noted to reference Zhongtui Palace. This is blueprint. So Jing already had someone find it and bring it to Prince Jing. Prince Jing spread open the blueprint, and Jing prepared himself to answer questions at any moment. After all, Prince Jing had never been in charge of anything similar. When Jing had first come to the Ministry of Works, he also didn't understand anything. But Prince Jing didn't ask him anything. He just focused on the blueprint and occasionally noted something down on the side. From Jing's angle, he couldn't see what Prince Jing was writing, but he noticed that when Prince Jing opened the blueprint, the silver koi inside the crystal bottle had also swum closer, pressing against the side closest to Prince Jing's hand. From this angle, it looked like the koi had stopped right on top of Prince Jing's hand. Jing almost felt like the koi was looking at the blueprint with Prince Jing. Oh my goodness, this man is gonna start to get very, very familiar with Xiaoyu and Prince Jing's relationship, I feel. Why would he think that? It's not like the koi was a spirit. The little carp who'd been mistaken as a spirit thought, ah, here it is. I wanted to see what my boyfriend looks like when he's working. You were just complaining about being bored to work though, sir. Leah had seen Prince Jing read, write and paint, but had never seen Prince Jing work. Leah was also very curious about what ancient blueprints looked like, so he kept trying to inch forward. Prince Jing knew Xiaoyu was getting interested, and was afraid the fish had forgotten he was in a bottle and might break it again. So he silently moved the blueprint towards the fish a little and continued to study it, browsing it together. My boyfriend is so hot when he's concentrating. This fish is so in love right now. Leah appreciated Prince Jing's handsome profile for a while, blew him a kiss from afar, then stretched out his neck to look at the blueprint. He was a little excited. What if he picked up on something and could help Prince Jing? There were many little houses drawn on the blueprints. Leah couldn't tell how they were different from each other. Many of them also had notes underneath. The text was smaller than a fish's eyes, which made Leah's head hurt. As it turned out, there was no what if. The blueprint would learn to read him before he was going to figure this one out. Leah sighed. Well, that was that. When Prince Jing got the key parts, he suddenly seemed to understand something. Looking back, he saw the fish lying at the edge of the bottle, also staring at the blueprint. Sharia likes to look at blueprints? But in the next second, the fish, who liked to look at blueprints, sank to the bottom of the bottle. Prince Jing chuckled to himself. Turns out he didn't like it after all. Sharia had fallen asleep again. Oh my goodness. He thought back to how Sharia had gotten up early this morning to make him lunch, and his heart felt fuzzy and warm. He couldn't help but reach over to pet the fish. He did this when he was reading in his manner as well, so Prince Jing didn't think it was a big deal. Oh my goodness, okay, and we have some very cute arts that I just quickly want to show you guys. Look at it. And now I can finally visualize the bottle. I don't know why, but I was not picturing the bottle to look like that. Sorry, I'm obscuring some of it. But yeah, that's really cute. Shahir blew a bubble. Even though he was sleeping, his tail still drifted over to wrap around his finger, though a little lazily. Prince Jing couldn't help but smile. Prince Jing? Jiang Jing, who worked in the same room and had already witnessed everything, coughed awkwardly. Prince Jing looked up at Jiang Jing with his deep gaze. Jiang Jing considered his words carefully and urged him quietly. Prince Jing, you can't pet your fish on the clock. That doesn't sound good, okay? That just... So why not? It's not like looking at your phone on the clock, I don't think. It's not that same level of distraction, I don't feel. Okay. Jing glared at Jiang Jing coldly, then went back to studying the blueprints. He had a habit of writing down notes while he was reading. When there was something he was confused about, he didn't try to ask Jiang Jing immediately. He just made a note. Since he couldn't speak, asking would take a long time. His productivity would go down if he had to constantly interrupt his line of thought and then pick it back up again like that. So Prince Jing read through the whole blueprint first, then collected all his questions for Jiang Jing at the end. Smalls. Jiang Jing glanced over at Prince Jing every once in a while. He was quite surprised at the prince's patience. When he'd had to take responsibility and remind Prince Jing not to pet his fish, he'd clearly offended Prince Jing. If the prince really wanted to treat him rudely because of it, Jiang Jing would have had to take it. Because, after all, His Highness was a prince, and he was just a subject. That is sadly true. But Jiang Jing didn't regret it. That was just how he was. He wanted to get along with Prince Jing, but when it came to work, he wouldn't make excuses for anyone. Jiang Jing disapproved of Prince Jing petting his fish. Aside from helping Prince Jing, the Emperor had given him another job. He had to report back on how Prince Jing was doing in the Ministry of Works. Jiang Jing had already planned out what he was going to say, prepared to ask the Emperor for his forgiveness. He didn't think Prince Jing was suitable for this job. Prince Jing had brought his pet fish to the Ministry of Works, a clear sign the prince wasn't taking the job seriously. Wasting time petting his fish was also definitive proof Prince Jing wasn't really completing his work, Zheng Jing thought. But after Prince Jing was done with the blueprint, he thrust a bunch of notes at him. When Zheng Jing looked at the dense writing, he was shocked. All the questions Prince Jing had written down were extremely perceptive. Yay! Okay, what did I want to say? I actually, as much as obviously I don't want him messing with Prince Jing in any way, I really like the fact that he is very work orientated and this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way to do things, because even if it might cause some trouble for Prince Jing right now, I think it's the best kind of personality to have in the work, their work environment, that might guarantee him not becoming corrupt or being bribed easily or turning against Prince Jing for dishonorable reasons. So that part of it is good. After only a single round of questions, Lord Zheng was sweating bullets. Before, he was a little worried because he was afraid Prince Jing might have just come here to mess around. Now he was sweating because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to answer Prince Jing's questions. Zheng Jing couldn't help but recall how the third prince had also been assigned to the Ministry of Works a few years ago. But the Ministry of Works dealt with a bunch of construction workers day in and day out. The third prince thought it was both dirty and not very respectable, so he was very unhappy. It was called the job, but he just drank tea at the Ministry of Works for a few days. In the end, the Ministry of Works wrote to the Emperor telling him delicately that the third prince was not suited for this job. As a result, the Emperor moved the third prince elsewhere. In comparison, although Prince Jing's personality was a little odd and he liked to pet fish, just based on how he could sit down and concentrate on the blueprint, he was already leagues ahead of the other princes. I'm happy. Okay. Prince Jing is shutting up everyone that thinks he's incapable. Could say he's gonna be leaving everyone speechless. Zheng Jing's opinion of Prince Jing had changed. He decided not to write to the Emperor to say Prince Jing wasn't suitable after all. He even thought it was a pity Prince Jing couldn't talk. With this kind of attitude, Prince Jing was someone who could settle down and accomplish something. It was a shame. Your Highness, Zheng Jing said gently, if you have any questions in the future, don't hesitate to ask me. If I can't answer it, you can ask the minister. I love it. He's not like, oh, if I can't answer it, then, it's somehow your fault, or kind of, how some people will make it about them if they can't answer it, instead of just being like, it's a fact, let's find someone who can help. And I really like that. Prince Jing nodded. Since he was done with the blueprint, he could play with his fish now. He did not just work diligently so that he had more time to play with his fish. He did. Despite Zheng Jing's piercing gaze, Prince Jing put the fish into a lotus bowl he'd brought along and started really playing with the fish in earnest. Zheng Jing truly didn't know what to say. At lunchtime, Prince Jing opened his huge pack and took out an equal huge food box. There were 3 large bowls inside. Prince Jing opened each bowl. Zheng Jing, who sat not far away, saw a bowl of burnt rice, a bowl of dark black stuff that he couldn't identify, and another bowl of what looked like soft wilted cucumber. Interested, he asked, Your Highness, what manner of cuisine did you bring? As soon as he said it, he realized no one would pick up a brush while eating. There was no way Princeton would respond. He might even be upset. But Princeton was in a good mood. Not only was he not upset, he even took out 2 pieces of paper from his sleeve and handed them to Zhang Jing. What? When did Princeton prepare these pieces of paper? Did he know he would ask? There were 2 dishes, 1 paper for each. Zhang Jing read the notes that said, minced meat and eggplant made by my boyfriend, and smashed cucumber made by my boyfriend. Oh Lord. This book needs to stop saying playing with his fish. It sounds wrong. It does. It's not just me, is it? It does sound very suspicious. Ah, so the thing he couldn't identify was minced meat eggplants. Were they really eggplants as black as coal? Zhang Jing refused to comment on the future consort's cooking skills. But no, not only did Prince Jing prepare the notes ready to introduce his boyfriend's cooking at any time, he even ate all 3 bowls without batting an eye. Oh goodness. I feel like Prince Jing might be immune to poison at this point. Zhang Jing, after witnessing this display of affection, said, Your Highness certainly has a good relationship with your consort. Prince Jing dipped his hand slightly into the bottle, nodding subtly as he touched the little carp's slippery back. The fish, who had woken up from his nap, was quite delighted. Oh, was he praising him? He'd gotten up early this morning to make both dishes, and he'd also made the rice. Although the eggplant had turned black for some reason, and the rice got a little burnt, it should still taste all right. And the smashed cucumber, Prince Jing's favorite. Bless Prince Jing's iron stomach. Leo suddenly thought he should actually taste his own cooking. Maybe there'd been a huge improvement. I'm worried. While Zhang Jing wasn't paying attention, he swam quietly to the opening of the bottle. Prince Jing's bowls weren't too far away. Leo decided to try and steal a little piece of eggplant from Prince Jing's bowl. It was a vegetable, so a fish could eat it, right? Prince Jing was well aware of the particular flavor of these dishes. Afraid that Chaoyu would be shocked by the taste, he hurriedly ate all the eggplants in the bowl, as well as all of the cucumber. He didn't even leave behind a single grain of rice. I am worried. I hope Prince Jing is okay. Leo was ecstatic. His cooking must have really improved. Otherwise, why would Prince Jing eat it all so fast and not let him have any? Oh no. I do not have this kind of devotion to anyone in my life. I'm sorry. Like, if I don't like food, I can't eat it. He started to think about other dishes. He was a useful boyfriend. He couldn't help Prince Jing when it came to blueprints, but he could help Prince Jing by cooking for him. The fish finally calmed down, and Prince Jing, unaware that increasingly cursed bentos were waiting for him in the future, sighed in relief. Oh no. The news of the Emperor ordering Prince Jing to begin working eventually made its way to the third prince, making him a little restless. He's literally doing the job that you refuse to do, so you can't even be jealous. Wu Tianming had asked a few officials to ask the emperor to forgive him and give him something to do, but instead the emperor ignored the request and went to Prince Jing. What could a mute do? You too. The emperor would rather rely on a mute than on him, but no matter how displeased Mu Tianming was, he couldn't act on impulse. The emperor clearly wasn't happy with him right now. Both his injuries and those of the Sixth Prince was mostly recovered by now. The emperor had let the Sixth Prince go already, but Mu Tianming still had to go study every day and write down the classic of filial piety. He was burning with anxiety. Hey, that rhymed. If he continued like this, how was he going to reassure the officials who were on his side? Going to the imperial study room every day, he could tell the emperor was already starting to train the two young princes. Even their previous teacher had been swapped out for the emperor's own teacher. The emperor was so biased, he was ranking him behind both the two younger princes and Prince Jing. Wu Tianming couldn't take it anymore. He complained to the sixth prince who had come to visit. "Brother, don't forget what happened to you last time," Wu Tianshao reminded him in a gentle voice. "You should calm down first. Father wants to see your attitude improve. If you don't make any more mistakes, Father won't ignore you for long. Don't worry, you still have me. I'll keep an eye out for you." Wu Tianming cheered up immensely. The sixth prince was right. Besides, the sixth prince had been with him for many years now and was extremely trustworthy. This man's a terrible judge of character, apparently. Bless his heart, indeed. Last time, when he chose not to listen to the sixth prince, he'd suffered a huge setback, which only made the third prince trust the sixth prince even more. Very clever on the sixth prince's side, though he didn't even really do anything to have that happen. But I trust he will take full advantage of it. "I feel a lot better with you here," said Mu Tianming. "I can give you authority over a large portion of my people. Help me take care of things." Mistake number 1000? Wu Tianming took out a token representing his authority, hesitated for a moment, and handed it to the sixth prince. The sixth prince accepted it. No matter how much he wanted this, he couldn't let it show on his face. He thanked the third prince evenly, saying that he appreciates the opportunity and would do anything he could to repay the honor. Putting away the token, the sixth prince walked out calmly under the third prince's watchful eye. After leaving the manor, Mu Tianshao looked up at the sky, his mood soaring. He knew the heavy clouds above his head were about to dissipate. Well, he gets a frickin' F in fortune telling. Once he had all of the third prince's people in his corner, he could finally stop hiding. This is gonna be a mess. Oh, I'm nervous. Okay. Page 289, chapter 66. Fishy love letters. Now that he'd received Mu Tianming's token, Mu Tianshao didn't keep his promise and helped the third prince to take care of his business. Instead, he took care of himself. His injuries from the beating had healed. Mu Tianshao was going to the palace to pay his respects to the emperor. Rain or shine, everything was a gift when it came from the emperor. Even if the emperor had punished him, he had to smile and thank him anyway. The emperor met with the sixth prince. The imperial guard's investigation had revealed that the third prince was just using the sixth prince, and he wasn't the main culprit. But the emperor still disliked Mu Tianshao and treated him coldly. He was like an invisible person to the emperor. He'd only started appearing before the emperor recently because he was following the third prince. He'd long since gotten used to the emperor's cold attitude and responded in turn with respect. After thanking the emperor, Mu Tianshao said that he planned to give Prince Jing an extravagant gift, with the excuse that he felt bad for the whole fake monk thing and wanted to apologize. Oh no, is Shaya in trouble again? In danger again, I should rather say. Mutin Shah wanted to run it past him first and have him look over the gift list. That is so clever, damn it. Okay. Recalling how the second prince had done something similar not long ago, the emperor's gaze turned suspicious. But he still ended up looking at the list. It was a set of ink, brushes, paper, and inkstones, as well as some calligraphy and paintings, though they were not anything famous. The emperor suddenly recalled that the sixth prince's mother, Consort Zhang, had been Empress Xiaohe's servant. Oh. Ooh, so there might be some enmity there as well with Xiao Mu Tianxiao feeling like he's maybe being seen as beneath the third Prince Jing just because of that as well. After Emperor Shah passed away, Consort Zhang remained in Changchun Palace. She'd only been given the lowly status of second-class attendant after the emperor had shown favor to her one drunken night. Just from that night, Consort Zhang became pregnant with the sixth prince. She'd only ascended to the consort rank once the sixth prince became an adult. Consort Zhang didn't come from an influential family who could back them, so the sixth prince ended up the poorest of all the princes. The rewards he normally received were just the standard ones given during holidays and the New Year. Things had only gotten a little better for him since he'd been following the third prince these last few years. It's interesting because, like, in a lot of other BLs, or actually not even just BLs, just a lot of other historical settings, he would be a typical main character. You know, mother who couldn't really afford him any favors, the emperor not really looking at him kindly. It's very interesting that we don't have him here. Like, I love Prince Jing, don't get me wrong, and obviously Mu Tianxiao's moral radar isn't the best, but it is just interesting that he shares a lot of similarities with most male leads. The emperor couldn't quite work out what he was feeling, but he felt that the sixth prince had at least put some thought into these gifts, so he nodded and allowed the sixth prince to go ahead. But he thought about it and decided to mention ahead of time, if Prince Jing doesn't want to see you, you must not disturb him. He was afraid the sixth prince would bring Prince Jing trouble because he had committed such egregious deeds in the past. Mu Tianxiao smiled. Father, please rest assured I will leave as soon as I set the gifts down. I won't bother fifth brother. Mu Tianxiao bowed and then left. The moment he turned around, his smile seemed to freeze over. The stress. I am so stressed because this man has proven that he is a legitimate threat. Every day Li went to work with Prince Jing. Then, every night, he had to keep up with his relationship. He'd been keeping up this schedule for several days now, and although he was a fish for most of it, he was still exhausted. He was sure they had to be inseparable, but the quest wasn't updating. Damn it, okay. The fish scamming system was scamming him once again. He'd clearly already kissed Prince Jing, with tongue. Prince Jing brought him to and from work and petted him whenever he got the chance. Didn't that count as inseparable? The quest is determined by the user and the Tyrant's relationship, the system explained. As of now, your relationship hasn't developed since the indulging quest. Excuse you, I would say there has been a lot of developments. We're already boyfriends and he's taking me to work. Doesn't that count as a deeper relationship? This is ancient China. The concept of boyfriends doesn't exist. Additionally, the Tyrant was already in the habit of carrying his fish and pet fish around everywhere, so that doesn't count either. I hate that the system has a point. Dot dot dot. Made sense. What was he supposed to say to that? Prince Jing had already doted on the fish. Did that mean it was harder for him to complete his quests now? But if boyfriends didn't count, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to marry Prince Jing on the spot? You could try. I don't know what else would count, honestly. Getting married is one way, the system replied. Leah scoffed coldly. He should have known the system was going to start scamming him again now that he was continuing his quests. He wanted to turn back into a human. If he didn't, he'd be in constant danger of Prince Jing finding out his secrets. That was the reason he laid down those rules with Prince Jing in the first place. He'd hoped he could date Prince Jing while completing his quests, but the fish scamming system wouldn't let him complete the mission just as boyfriends. If he couldn't complete this quest, then he couldn't become human. If he couldn't become human, then he couldn't properly date Prince Jing. How was their relationship supposed to develop? Fair question, honestly, considering he doesn't know that Prince Jing knows. So he was still blocked from progressing with his tasks. He was stuck in an endless loop. A light bulb went off in Leah's head. He figured it out. The system was once again trying to ship him and Prince Jing. He just hadn't thought that far ahead. He and Prince Jing had only just started to shyly hold hands like a regular couple, and they even blushed when they kissed. Leah couldn't imagine suddenly getting married. He wanted to be with Prince Jing purely because he liked him. It wasn't because he was a prince or would later become the emperor. Due to Prince Jing's current and future status, he couldn't get married just willy-nilly. In the book, after Prince Jing ascended the throne, despite all the officials' objections, he was adamant about Chu Yanyu being the empress. The entire censorate was on their knees, but no one was able to convince him. In the end, Chu Yanyu promised he would only ever be a consort and never be empress. Chu Yanyu promising he would only ever be a consort and never be empress was what won the officials over. But for the love of him, Prince Jing never picked an empress. As a result, Chu Yanyu remained a consort in name, but was treated and honored like an empress. But Prince Jing still needed an heir, so Chu Yanyu generously found him some consorts. In the original story, Prince Jing was furious over this, which made Chu Yanyu feel unappreciated. Oh. Yeah, that is kind of not something I want to be thinking about right now. Okay. Let's see how far we can get in the next 9 minutes. In the past, when I was reading the novel, Leah had felt like the delicate little concubine was finally doing something for Prince Jing's sake, for once after spending his whole life tricking him. But now that he was the one who was dating Prince Jing, he no longer thought this way. Sorry. In the book, Chu Yanyu didn't want to be the empress and even urged Prince Jing to take more consorts. It seemed like he was thinking of the greater good, but one could also interpret this as Chu Yanyu not caring who was with Prince Jing. In other words, he didn't love Prince Jing as much as Prince Jing loved him. Perhaps Prince Jing had gone mad because he realized, to Chu Yanyu, he could never compare to the dead sixth prince. Fair. That was how love was. Whoever fell first lost. Prince Jing, who had become a tyrant, could kill the entire world to claim it for himself, but he couldn't kill Qianye to claim his heart. At the end of the book, after many years, Qianye finally started falling for Prince Jing. The tragic love story ended on such an absurd note. When Li Ye thought of this ending, he felt a little uncomfortable. He really felt bad for Prince Jing in the book. After ascending to the throne, the tyrant had the entire world, but he didn't have a single person who cared for him wholeheartedly. Even though the delicate little concubine was right next to him all along, he didn't care for Prince Jing for a long time. Prince Jing, who towered above everyone on the throne, had always been very lonely. But in this world, it was no longer possible for Qianye and Prince Jing to get together. Li Ye felt bad for Prince Jing, but did that mean it was up to him to change everything? Then would Prince Jing take him as a consort? Would he become the empress after Prince Jing rose to the throne? Then was he the fish consort? The fish empress? Words I never thought I'd say. When people had called Li Ye consort before, it made him uneasy. Empress was a much heavier title. He didn't know if he could carry it with his little fish body. Luckily, you have a human side, okay? He was willing to help Prince Jing take the throne, but that was a different matter than becoming a consort or empress. When he imagined being dressed up like a noble consort, waiting all alone in his palace for Prince Jing to pay him some attention, goosebumps erupted all over his skin. Never mind, there was no point dwelling on it much. He and Prince Jing had only just begun. Who knew what would happen in the future? They were just dating, so there was no need to make things so complicated between the two of them. Marriage was the kind of thing they could only consider when they could both view the relationship with a mature state of mind. 18-year-old Li Ye thought as though he were an old man. Oh my goodness. But after considering all this, he was still affected. When he transformed to see Prince Jing, he was a little down. Prince Jing had always been observant. He immediately noticed that Xiaoye's mood was not as cheerful as usual. He really looked forward to seeing him and Xiaoye every day. Recently, he'd been busy with work during the day. Though Xiaoye was with him, there were others there, so they couldn't act too close. It wasn't that Prince Jing feared Zheng Jing, rather he couldn't let Zheng Jing find out about the carp spirits, so he really only had the time after work to spend with Xiaoye. Fair. For these 2 hours, Prince Jing didn't want Xiaoye to be sad about anything. If there was anything bothering Xiaoye, he would solve it himself. What's wrong? Prince Jing seemed to ask while holding Li Ye's hands. Li Ye pursed his lips. He couldn't mention the original book or becoming empress, but Prince Jing's careful gaze carried the weight of his care for him. Li Ye could feel it clearly. It seemed Prince Jing was the first to fall in love this time as well. Thinking of the confession carved into the walls of the manor, Li Ye started to feel bad for Prince Jing again. No matter what, he decided privately he'd never let Prince Jing be alone again. After he'd agreed to Li Ye's rules, Prince Jing never tried to ask Li Ye about the things he didn't want to talk about. He approached Li Ye and held him in his arms so Li Ye could lean against him. Slowly, Li Ye relaxed. Li Ye blinked. These last few days, he'd gradually started recognizing the patterns in Prince Jing's behavior. For example, when Prince Jing hugged him, that usually meant he wanted a kiss. Prince Jing really liked to kiss him. I am excited for Xiaoye to start kind of like being more able to read Prince Jing's body language. And Li Ye liked to wait for his kiss, smiling, then returning it. He didn't know if all new couples were as clingy as this, but they both liked it. This time, though, Prince Jing didn't kiss him. He pulled out a note from his sleeve and handed it to Li Ye. Prince Jing rarely prepared notes ahead of time to communicate with other people. He usually wrote things down at the time. After he started dating Li, though, he began to cherish every moment they had together. So he'd come up with the method as a compromise to avoid wasting precious time on writing. That's actually really cute. If he had something to say, it made sense to write it down when it was alone, then give it to Xiaoye later. Leah accepted the note and looked at it excitedly. The note was already a little worn around the edges, and the sentence written on it was Prince Jing's handwriting. I like you. That is so cute, the fact that he still felt the need to say it after it's already been so established. That is really cute. I do love some emotionally mature boys. Yeah, no, it's nice that we haven't had, considering the fact that one is a fish and one is literally unable to speak, we have not had as much of the miscommunication trope as I would expect. Um, Sorry, I lost my place like fully now. Oh, this wasn't the first time Leah had been confessed to, but he was still delighted. Your Highness wrote this a long time ago, right? Otherwise, why would the note be in such a state? And he hid it specifically so he could take it out to make Leah happy. That is actually such a cute thought. That would make me happy as well. Oh my goodness. He cared for him so meticulously it was a little scary. Prince Jing nodded, but didn't mention that he'd written this back when Xiaoye was angry with him and avoiding him. Aww. At the time, he'd wanted to show it to Xiaoye at the opportune moment, but he never got around to using it. Now was the perfect time. Prince Jing's comforting made Li feel a lot better, and he started to become curious instead. Prince Jing had notes to cheer him up and to show off to Zheng Jing. Could there be others too? Li put his hands on his hips like a bandit and smiled brightly. Your Highness, you have many more of these notes, don't you? It was unusual to see Prince Jing so hesitant. He glanced at Leah, then looked away quickly. Oh, from the looks of this expression, there's clearly something going on. I want to see. Leah was now very close to Prince Jing. He smirked, then reached both hands into Prince Jing's sleeves, hugging him. Prince Jing couldn't evade him. In a flash of awkwardness, Leah suddenly thought of the time he'd bitten Prince Jing's nipple. Where did that thought come from? Like, I get that these are probably just intrusive thoughts and you can't control when they happen, but like, I was not prepared for that incident to be mentioned. And was a bit flustered. The two of them each had their own thoughts. Leah's eyes shone brightly as he pulled out a bunch of notes from Prince Jing's sleeves. Oh wait, hold on. In the flash of awkwardness, I missed a paragraph, and it's not important, but like important. In a flash of awkwardness, Leah thought of the time he'd bitten Prince Jing's nipple. Thank goodness Prince Jing didn't know he was the fish. Prince Jing, meanwhile, hesitated. He'd also remembered the time the fish bit his nipple and was a bit flustered. How did both of their heads go to the exact same place? The two of them each had their own thoughts. Leah's eyes shone brightly as he pulled out a bunch of notes from Prince Jing's sleeve. Shocked, he said, Your Highness, you wrote this many? Prince Jing looked at him with a gentle gaze. Leah randomly grabbed one and read it. The food tastes very good. Try not to tire yourself out. He lied like a liar, but we think it's still cute though. He thought about it carefully. This must be what Prince Jing wanted to say when Leah handed him his lunch. But because they had a little time to spend together, Prince Jing didn't let him know what he was thinking most of the time. He must have written it down after the fact. With emotions swirling in his chest, Lear read all the notes and recalled many of the little things that had happened between them. It turned out that despite Princeton's cold exterior, his heart was always warm towards Lear. The last note was even more tattered. I don't know why I was like, I'm kind of hoping maybe one of the notes reveals that Prince Jing knows, but I don't think he would write that down just for fear of it being discovered. The last note was even more tattered, it was almost worn out. Prince Jing's expression was suddenly extremely complicated. After a brief internal struggle, he actually tried to snatch it back from him. He realized something must be up, so of course the curious fishy chose to open it up and see. He thought there'd be some kind of cringy pickup line, but instead it was, "I want to absorb essence." Okay, it's not the reveal that I was secretly hoping for, but it's like, oh no, okay. And we are at the end of the chapter and at the relative top of the hour, so I'm gonna end it here. We are finishing up at page 299, chapter 67. So that means we basically have 100 pages left, which is 60-40. So what I probably will do is we'll have a full 3 hours next week, and then do the remaining ones on the week after. And I think we'll actually be pretty much done in 2 hours for the final one. So I think it'll work out. I'm not too worried. Now my voice just needs to keep up because it's been wanting to go away for the last hour. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you for noting down on the page, and we will hopefully see each other again next week. So, 再见.